You're not an independent contractor when you accept more just to earn more. Find out what I mean on this segment of the Gig Geezer. If this is your first time checking out the Gig Geezer, or if you're a returning visitor of the Gig Geezer, hey, thanks for coming by. And if you would not mind, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. Now, the intent of this segment of the Gig Geezer is to present an argument that may enlighten you to see yourself not as DoorDash or Grubhub or Uber Eats or Lyft, whether intentionally or not, wants to see you. I want you to understand first that I'm not a curmudgeon, a foul-mouthed and bitter older guy, and I'm using my channel as a way of ranting about my failures as a gig delivery driver. If anything, if anyone has followed the Gig Geezer channel for any duration, I have shown you how I've succeeded in doing gig delivery work, and I like to think that I've shown others how to maximize their gig hustle, their gig grind. As I began putting thoughts to paper, but better yet, as I began putting thoughts to this Microsoft Word file, I thought about another discussion on artificial intelligence. In fact, I may touch upon it after this lead topic. But then it dawned upon me that there was another angle that I felt that I failed to share on something in a recent uploaded content. Now, those of you who have gone along with DoorDash's Accept More, Earn More pilot program are playing right into their hand, not so much as ensuring that orders are being delivered, but you're playing right into DoorDash's hand by performing the role of an employee and not as much as an independent contractor. That's right. In fact, there may be a legal argument to be made about DoorDash's Accept More, Earn More pilot program going against even their own definition of an independent contractor. There is even more of an argument about hypocrisy. Think about this recent DoorDash email that's gone out asking us drivers to tell our politicians and the Department of Labor about how much we love our independence when doing DoorDash. But drivers should be telling their politicians, and even more so the Department of Labor, about how exploitative DoorDash really is. That's what should be done. Now, it's like this. Think of a conversation you've had or an interview you've been on, and they've asked, is there anything else you'd like to say? This is your opportunity to say that and more. But what I'm about to share over the next several minutes may just be my own observation and my own observation only. But your playing into DoorDash's hand is being done in clear view, and you are being a part of the problem. Yes, those of you who are maintaining that 50% or higher acceptance rate, or even that 70% higher acceptance rate, you are being a part of the problem, and you're not being a part of the solution. That's right. Now, go to DoorDash's website. Go to DoorDash's terms of agreement with the drivers. There's a section called recitals. The recitals are where you define who's who in the contract. And it says contractor is an independent provider of delivery and other services authorized to conduct services contemplated by this agreement in the geographical locations in which the contractor operates. It goes further to say that contractor understands and expressly agrees that they are not an employee of DoorDash. Okay? Then it goes on to say contractor understands, one, they are free to select the times they wish to be available on the platform to receive delivery opportunities. Two, it says they are free to negotiate their compensation by, among other things, accepting or rejecting the opportunities transmitted through the DoorDash platform by consumers, and can make such decisions to maximize their opportunity for profit. And three, they have the sole right to control the manner in which deliveries are performed and the means by which those deliveries are completed. Then it goes on to say in section 3, contracted services. It says in contracted services, section 3, from time to time, The DoorDash platform will notify a contractor of the opportunity to complete deliveries from restaurants or other businesses to consumers in accordance with orders placed by consumers through the DoorDash platform or directly from restaurants or other businesses. Contractor agreed by logging into the DoorDash platform as a dasher. Contractor is making themselves available to receive delivery opportunities which contractor may accept or reject. Then it goes on to say, contractor acknowledges that DoorDash has the discretion as to which, if any, delivery opportunity to present to contractor, just as contractor has the discretion whether and to what extent to accept any delivery opportunity. If we were to break this down, what it says then is that DoorDash, when it implemented this accept more, earn more program, it went over this contract agreement with us, or at least the latest terms of agreement. And it gave itself some legal room, technically that is, by setting instead minimum requirements of 50 and 70%, meaning that technically you still exercise the stated right to accept or decline orders. But this actually sets up for a later point that I'll be talking about, and that deals with the algorithm. The algorithm interprets if you're not at 50% or even more desirably at 70% or higher, you may see a significant drop in the volume and quality of orders that are coming across your phone screen. The bottom line can be made like this, is that if you're not operating as an independent contractor, if you're having to accept a minimum number of orders to seek what may be adequate or higher compensation on the app, consider that food for thought. And if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer or in any other segment of Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button. Give my content a thumbs up. Share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. Now let me present it another way. If I'm a DoorDash employee, it would be to my advantage to maintain at least a 50% acceptance rate on this app. And while I may not have to meet a production requirement or at the minimum contractual requirements, as an employee who wants to make the most of my opportunity while on the app, I would need to accept at least 50% of the orders that comes across my screen. But I may see even better opportunities as an employee if I accept 70% or more of the orders that come across my screen. Now, if I'm an employee, that may be more plausible and a logical argument to make. But this is DoorDash. First of all, DoorDash is about pleasing its shareholders. DoorDash is all about maintaining at least that 59% market share that it currently enjoys and improving upon it. DoorDash is all about delivering more orders. And DoorDash is about improving upon the 42% profit margin that it enjoys before expenses are counted. And bottom line, DoorDash is all about DoorDash. The same thing goes for all the other apps, Uber Eats, Lyft, Instacart, Grubhub. The same thing also goes for Amazon and its Amazon Flex program. But I'm going to pose things to you this way. If you really have the mindset of an independent contractor, you're going to consider everything. I, as an independent contractor, am going to think about how much time I'm out here. I'm going to think about how much I'm making for the time that I'm out here. And I'm going to determine that in the process of obtaining 50% acceptance rate or higher and the subsequent maintenance of a 50% acceptance rate, whether it's going to be a waste of my time or that I need to employ a different strategy. And I could care less about maintaining a 70% acceptance rate or higher if it doesn't fit into my business strategy. Now, this is how someone who's in business for themselves thinks. And this is how someone who's in business for himself or herself may assess and then implement any strategy on the DoorDash app. Now, I said a while ago in another Gig Geezer segment that the only way to work around DoorDash's accept more, earn more pilot program is to work more apps. And depending on the market, but I'm going to say by and large, you almost have to do it out of the necessity in order to remain an independent contractor by definition as well. But along the way, I have shown in other Gig Geezer segments that the mindset of accepting less and earning more and working multiple apps and stacking orders across multiple apps is still a tried and proven way to make more money and also spend less time out there. I've also shared a number of times throughout this year, 2022, the money that I've made according to these apps. These numbers have been compiled on the Gridwise app, which syncs up all these apps and keeps a running tab for me. But I also know this as well, that I keep a running tab for myself with all these numbers that I've shared here on the Gig Geezer channel. What you gotta understand too is that oftentimes it's all about how you go about doing your grind and your hustle that produces the results that you aspire to accomplish. And so, what I've learned in many of my life endeavors is that you have to have the right mindset in order to accomplish these goals. There are some content creators out here in the YouTube sphere who are doing exactly just that. The first person that comes to mind is Uber Jeep Arizona, or his actual name is Jay Watts. Now, if you listen to what he shares, what he does is encourage folks to develop the right mindset, thinking and treating what we do as a business to get business like results. For that reason, it's not about entertainment with the content that he produces on YouTube. It's not about entertainment for me as well with the content that I've uploaded here on YouTube. It's not about clicks and views. It's about something that weeks and months down the road actually is proven correct. Now, what I have seen essentially are people who claim to be seeing these better orders and are seeing orders that they've never seen before by going along as employees, basically, with the DoorDash's Accept More, Earn More program. They are seeing orders that are actually average for me. And I've shared how I have shared over a rolling 12-week period what my numbers are on the DoorDash app. And from what I've seen with a lot of folk who have posted, who have shown in their content the type of orders they're getting, that's average shit for me. But is this the type of playing field that DoorDash thinks it's fair and the way things should go as intended? Now, what DoorDash is doing does not promote independence. What DoorDash is doing does not promote the sense that one is operating their own. What DoorDash is doing does not promote the sense that one is operating as their own business person. There may be a legal argument that challenges what DoorDash is doing. Essentially, it goes contrary to the stated definition of an independent contractor. This is why DoorDash, Uber, and Lyft and other apps are in the news. It's because the way they're going about doing their business and basically imposing these, particularly DoorDash imposing these minimum acceptance rate standards and all, it goes against the definition of being an independent contractor. Now, if you're in business for yourself, what you'll find is that some people succeed and some people don't. What you'll also find is when you're in business for yourself, some people make money, some people don't, if all variables are considered equal. Or if you're in business for yourself, what you'll find is that you control your, at least by definition, what people get into business is that they are led to believe, or at least you want to believe, that you are, if you're in business for yourself, you control your own destiny by oftentimes the amount of effort and time that you put into it. And what you'll find is that when you're in business for yourself, you're not discriminated based on the fact that you refuse to accept an offer that you may find unacceptable for your business model. Yes, I said that again. You will find that you're not discriminated based on the fact that you refuse to accept an offer based on what you find unacceptable for your business model. That's right. Now, I'm going to give you an example. It's not an apples for apple example, but think of it this way. And by the way, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer or in any other segment of the Gig Geezer, hey, hit that subscribe button. Give my content a thumbs up. Share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. Now, years ago, I worked in a car lot. In fact, I worked for a couple of years. And I was what you may consider an average to slightly above average salesperson. And Basically, I was considered a lot lizard because I had to generate whatever business that I could based on the people who came onto the lot. I was not in it long enough to where I had actual client base clientele in which people came looking for me. And so um, there are people, but you now there was a guy whom I know. In fact, this is kind of a shout out for him. Um, there between me and him, I refer to him as Apostle. And Apostle, he has a very extensive clientele. I'm really surprised at I'm not surprised by the clientele that he has. In fact, anyone who works at that lot pretty much knows his type of customer. And then again, you have other type of salespeople. You have me, the lot lizard, but then you also have your thirsty slash homers. And what I mean by that, those people, they get in good with the management. They get in good with the sales manager. They either get in good with the ownership or with the sales manager, and they get deals handed to them, what we call bones. And a good percentage of the sales they make in a month are based on those hand me, gimme, no paying opportunities. You know, I'm not going to knock them, but that's the way they go about doing things. But guys like Apostle, they make top dollar, and a lot of it because of them having their own clientele. Their reputation precedes them. They don't have to work as hard with the negotiating as, say, someone like me, the lot lizard. But that said, another thing is that um, when you're an employee of a car lot, as a salesperson, you're not expected to turn your back on customers. And so, at least in practice, what happens is that someone like Apostle may not have to work the lot. Apostle could wait in his office for people to come to him. Someone like me, it was expected that if someone came on a lot, that I would have to go out there and meet them and try to do what I can. But I'm going to give you two quick examples of something like that. In fact, better yet, I'm going to give you one example, one very good example where when you're an employee, like at a car lot, although technically you're an independent, you're in business for yourself, but you're really an employee. There were two guys who came onto the lot one afternoon. Every person that before I approached them pretty much ignored them. In fact, they would come inside and would be snickering and laughing at them. I'm not going to get into all the details about these guys, but you can pretty much make your own conclusion. Well, I went out there and talked to them, and we got on a vehicle, and what it amounted to was that I tried to work out a deal. He told me before we went inside that he had no credit. Well, I told him, well, look, I've seen people with as few as one trade lines actually get a deal. And so let's see what happens. Come on inside. Well, it turned out he had zero credit. He's the only person I've ever dealt with when I was in a car lot that had no credit score. But anyway, so what he did was he told the guy that the guy that accompanied him, he told him to go out to the car and bring the bag. Well, that guy had like $40,000 cash in that bag. And everyone who had laughed at them were now looking at me like, whoa, Inwood, they bought? Yeah, they bought cash. Damn. But anyway, what I'm getting at, there was a certain obligation that you have as an employee to accept orders or not. And let's translate that. There's a certain obligation you have as a DoorDash employee to accept orders. If you're in business for yourself, you're not obligated to accept orders. And there should be no minimum standard for you accepting a certain number of orders there should be no minimum standard of you accepting orders to see what may be decent paying opportunities or a volume of opportunities. And that's what I'm getting at. But I did mention about artificial intelligence. I'm going to touch on this very briefly as I close out this segment of the Gig Geezer. And by the way, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer or in any other segment of the Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. Now, this article that I noticed this week came off of the Vox website, VOX, and it went into some detail about artificial intelligence and it concerns the people who have developed and designed these algorithms. Now, what I've long understood about algorithms is that they have become more sophisticated and advanced, and that the human reliance upon them will become essentially a brainless process and function. What I mean is that the artificial intelligence could reach conclusions that we rely upon that may wreck individual lives and careers. Now, just at the very basic level and application, let's talk about driver deactivation from these gig economy apps. The friendly, well written emails that we receive alerting us of our accounts being interrupted or blocked are oftentimes triggered by an algorithm. And without any true investigating, and because of the volume of work that these departments already are dealing with, they simply go along with what the data the algorithm has generated. Now, I kind of understand some of this stuff, but I'm going to share a little more about myself. Decades ago, as a younger adult, I took up computer science or facets of computer science. And the first language that I learned was COBOL. And one of the things I learned back then was GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. And we're talking about very simple programs with very simple results. And for the most part, we had control over what the program's intended purpose was. A few years later, when I returned to school and began pursuing initially a degree in computer science, I'd also taken a few 100 level and I believe 200 level courses in addition to having completed 3 years of calculus. And the language that the department used at Texas Southern was C, which I'm told has evolved into other programming languages. The worst thing that happened with the code that we created was the program being stuck in what we called a loop. And being stuck in a loop essentially is when the program goes haywire, producing stuff that we did not intend for it to produce. Then it was our job to go back into the coding and figure out what went wrong. Now, imagine developing an algorithm that processes thousands, if not millions, of orders throughout the course of a day, then match thousands of people with those orders, and then dispatch those orders on something called an app, say by the name of DoorDash, Uber Eats, Bite Squad, Grubhub, Uber, or Lyft. The human brain, however intricate and sophisticated it may be, reaches some form of limitation when trying to process orders. But not only that, predict when they'll be ready, when someone should arrive at a merchant or destination to pick them up, then predict when someone should arrive at a merchant or destination for delivery. And let's not forget predicting traffic flow, dealing with weather, one's proximity based on that's measured through GPS, and people changing their minds. And not only that, how much should someone be paid? And quite frankly, who should get those orders? Now, the algorithm that's been created on these apps is what make these predictions. The data that's gathered from each transaction, whether completed or not, is used to anticipate other trends, patterns, and behaviors of both customers and the people who are termed as partners on these apps. The mathematical computation of these things are called machine learning. Now, whenever the desired result falls outside of an acceptable parameters, the data is, for a lack of better words, flagged. And too many of these flags may result in warnings being given, even up to notification of one's deactivation. Now, that's in simple terms what happens when we deal with these apps. Now, also, certain factors that may have contributed to those results falling outside of acceptable parameters, as many of us know and have experienced, are given a form in the form of an appeal. But as many of us know and have experienced, that information is rarely taken into consideration. These companies' reliance on these algorithms make it such that we literally are one delivery and one ride away from deactivation. Now, going back to the initial thought, the initial statement, the initial comment about when you accept more just to earn more, when you accept more just to earn more, at least supposedly, you are basically giving up your right. You're giving up your role as an independent contractor. And by implication, you're performing the work of an employee. Think about that the next time you feel that it's important that you maintain that 70% acceptance rate. Think about it next time that you think the top dasher means something to you. And with that, this is yet another segment of the Gig Geezer. If you like the content that's been provided in this segment, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I'm Inwood Lane, and may your hustle and may your grind continue.